Coming to you live from downtown Detroit, this is Benzinga's PreMarket Prep. With your hosts, Joel Elconin.
This is a volatile puppy here, isn't it?
And Dennis Dick.
I'm bidding a penny. I will buy the stock for a penny.
With everything you need to start your trading day.
Welcome back, traders and investors, to Benzinga's PreMarket Prep. I'm Joel Elconin and Spencer Israel. How you doing, Spencer?
I am doing good, Joel. How you doing today?
All things considered, I'm doing pretty good.
All right, so we got you and me today. No Dennis, he's out at Notre Dame.
Yeah,
Dennis
is at Notre Dame University, and he has a big group of fans there. He is going to be lecturing to the MBA class at the University of Notre Dame. So let's give a shout out to the Notre Dame MBA students. Go Blue.
And I am doing this from my childhood bedroom with my new fancy Bluetooth headphones. So let me know how I sound in the chat, because we did a couple tests, but always looking for some feedback on that. On today's show, we've got Michael Pachter on at 8:35. He's equity analyst for Wedbush Securities, but we do have a lot of stocks to cover, Joel. But first, how was your Thanksgiving, man?
My Thanksgiving was good. Spent some time with my sister in New Jersey. Saturday, I watched the Michigan football game, which had to go to overtime. And believe it or not, we headed home from New Jersey after the game was over. You can imagine I wasn't in a very good mood for a 9.5-hour drive from New Jersey to Michigan. And I want you to know, Spencer, that I did not stop in the state of Ohio. I went we went 300 miles. We stopped in Pennsylvania. I refused to stop in the state of Ohio. Got home about 2 o'clock in the morning. It was a long drive, but it was fun and good weekend. Ate a lot of turkey just like everybody else.
Yeah, I was thinking about you when I was watching, because I was watching the game too, and when it went to overtime, I was like, man, Joel's got a long drive. The later it goes, the later he gets home. So I'm glad you made it home okay. I'm glad you had a good holiday. I'm in Jersey too still, and I'll be here for the rest of the day. But anyway, let's get to some stocks, Joel. First of all, did you go shopping on Black Friday? Are you a Black Friday kind of guy?
No, I'm not. You know me. I did very little shopping. We went to see a okay movie, and no shopping for me, Spencer. How'd it go for you?
All right. I ended up at Best Buy with a couple of buddies, and I made a spontaneous purchase. I bought myself a Fitbit, so I am on the Fitbit train now, Joel. And then, so that was Friday.
Congratulations.
Thank you. Well, I haven't opened it yet because that was Friday. Sunday, I was on Amazon, and I saw another Fitbit for $20 cheaper, or actually more. It ended up being like $30 cheaper. So I was like, I'm going to buy this. So I bought that guy too. So now I have two Fitbits, and I'm going to return my Best Buy Fitbit at some point today, or eventually.
Same one? The exact same one?
The exact same one was $135, including the protection plan at Best Buy, and then it was like $95, including the protection plan at Amazon. So there's a bit of a difference there. The exact same thing.
That makes absolutely no sense. No wonder the stock is at $8, $9. I mean, they're cannibalizing themselves. I mean, I can't even give you any levels on this Fitbit, just holding out near its all-time low of 832. And just real quickly on Amazon, I don't know who was in the chat a week or so ago. When this got near 700, they scooped it up, I think, with a call spread. Nice rally back, seemed to be stalling at the $800 level a little bit, little psychological resistance at 800 in Amazon.
All right, let's go to some winners and losers from Black Friday, Joel. You and I were both looking at an article from The Street's Brian Sazi, and he kind of had a nice little roundup there. First of all, mobile devices were huge, right? I think, what was the number? Let me pull it up right here. I think he said over $1 billion in mobile sales. Let me pull it up. Yeah, $1.2 billion in mobile sales, up 33% from a year ago. It's the first day in retail history, Black Friday was, to notch over $1 billion in mobile sales. So they were very strong on the mobile. First of all, Black Friday did set a record $5.27 billion in sales. on a Thursday and Friday. That's up 17.7% from last year, according to Adobe. Black Friday itself set a record of $3.34 billion in sales, up 21% year over year. So everyone's shopping, Joel.
Everyone's shopping on their phone. Can you believe that? I mean, that's looking at that little screen doing the shopping. But let's look at the recipients who would benefit from this. And starting out, I guess AT&T, right? That stock's been battling back since it hit $36, and also T-Mobile just hit a new all-time high. Boom. That trading right near the $55 level, and Verizon's been on the comeback trail. I mean, got hit a lot post Trump victory, but I guess some people out there are still looking for yield in your AT&T and Verizon. I believe Verizon's around 3.5, and I think AT&T is just under 5% for a dividend. So if you're not afraid about the interest rate hike, these stocks are still on the recovery.
I think if I was smart, I would have been shopping on my phone at Best Buy. I would have saved myself some time there, where I could have just avoided the first purchase altogether. Found myself a second Fitbit, and then just got to Best Buy, shopped on my phone, and then left. Is what I'm sure maybe some people smarter than me were doing. So let's look at some retail stocks. Then we looked at or did we look at Best Buy already? Because
Yeah, Best Buy here, boom. Moving up here, had the earnings, the gap and go after earnings, a little bit of consolidation. And you know what, Spencer? This thing may have a double top in here with the spoos. We didn't even do the spoos, crude, and gold, but we can get that in a little bit. You do have some resistance here in Best Buy. Bases the daily charge. Two highs in a row, 47.29, 47.17, also 46.98. So let's call 47 major resistance here in Best Buy. If you're looking for another leg up, and believe it or not, Best Buy, let me make sure. No, this is not quite an all-time high, but if you've been holding on to your Best Buy since November of 2010, or excuse me, April of 2010, he had a high at 48.32, but 47 is your key level in Best Buy.
what about J.C. Penney? They are the first ones open on Thursday. They open at 3 p.m. Eastern on Thursday. That is insane.
I haven't even
And
sat down to dinner yet at 3 o'clock.
Yeah, exactly. So, yeah, I mean, that's the second year in a row they've done that. They're the first ones open. As someone who once worked retail on Black Friday, I'm sorry for all those poor souls who had to work that. But let's take a look at J.C. Penney.
J.C. Penney monster rally here post-election. They did have a lot of sales there. What else can you say except $10 in J.C. Penney? Struggling to get into double digits. $9.98 was your high on Friday. You kissed that level at $9.97 on November 14th, and also struggled at $10 here back in mid-September. So boom. 47 in Best Buy, $10 in the level in J.C. Penney. Probably some institutions lining up there. See what happens at $10 for another leg up.
Let's go to the mall rivals then. Macy's and Sears. Both were open at either 5 or 6 p.m. on Thursday. Let's see how those guys are doing.
Macy's been on a tear here since the earnings, another gap ago on earnings. Now, I did read that they had some trouble with their site on Friday, so that might have hurt a little bit of their traffic. Trading down 9 cents. Very weak close on Friday in Macy's. You don't like to see that. When you trade up to 45, 41, and then you close a nickel off the low at 44.14. Last two lows right here at the $44 level, 09 and 19. So needs to hold 44. After that, 43 handle looks a little thin. Big run up here in Macy's. Needs to hold 44.
I didn't hear about that site problem. What about Walmart? Because where I was at, where I live, there's a Best Buy. Then there's right next to that, there's a Walmart, and Best Buy was crowded, I would say, but not like packed. And I was there around 9:30 or 10. The Walmart was a zoo, total zoo. So let's take a check. I was afraid to go in there, honestly. So let's take a look at that guy.
What would you buy at Walmart? Another buy your third Fitbit or something?
Well, no, yeah, it's funny. No, I was with some friends who just like the Black Friday or Thursday experience. This is on Thursday evening, so they just like to be there. They like the experience of going. So I was like, oh, what the hell? I'll go with them. Uh, and I wasn't gonna buy anything. Lo and behold, I did. But I was there mostly to see the sights.
Where
So
was it? The buddies that came to Ann Arbor?
one of them, yes, one of them. He dropped $500 on an Xbox and a whole bunch of other stuff. So he was ready to roll. He had a plan. He was ready to roll. I was there mostly to people watch.
All right, Walmart here got whacked off their earnings, but just came battling back here. $72. We can talk about another whole number here. Didn't quite get there on Friday, trading up 13 cents in the pre-market, but you want to talk about a good level, 72.09. That was your high on November 10th. Another high at 72.06 on November 16th. So whole numbers coming into play in these retailers, 72 for Walmart.
And then what about Apple? Half of the Best Buy store is devoted to Apple products. It seems like I myself didn't buy anything, but I came pretty close to buying myself a new laptop. They always have a lot of good stuff, a
Yeah.
lot of good sales this time of year. So
Yep, good sales here at Best Buy. Target also was selling a lot of Apple products, according to my sources. We do have Apple trading down 14 cents here in the pre-market, 111.65. This thing has run into problems too. Not quite at a whole number. 112.42. That was your high off the recent low, just under 105. But over the last few days here, 112 has been the blocker. 111.87, 111.51, and 111.99. So trouble in the 112 handle for Apple. We'll see if it can clear it today.
do you want to add that Apple, this is according to Dow Jones this morning, Apple suppliers say that OLED displays could appear in iPhones as early as 2017. They said that Apple has asked display makers in Asia to increase their OLED production and to submit prototypes. So that's like the latest iteration of screen technology. So that's in the headline from Dow Jones this morning regarding Apple. What else? Any retailers that we missed? I mean, I feel like there are some. We've covered a few. We got Apple. We got Best Buy. We got the mall guys. What
What
about?
about the toy makers? Did you buy a troll doll? I guess there's a new troll movie out, and
No, no.
that has Hasbro, HAS. Let's look at the toy makers here. Boy, this stock has been very strong as of late. Hit $88. That's a key level, but you don't want to get too carried away if it goes through 88 because you have the all-time high here in Hasbro at 88.83. So those are the only numbers you can give. We're traded down here on an odd lot here. 3 measly shares traded 86.89. But keep an eye on that high from Friday. I'd just call it 88 to 88.50. Here is Hasbro's at an all-time high, and the other toy maker is Mattel? My girls weren't big into Barbies. Does Mattel, is that the Barbie maker or is that Hasbro? Help me
Yeah,
out.
no. I think it's Mattel.
Yeah, they got some fancy house or something now that they're selling for Barbies. Mattel, you got a level there to keep an eye on too. Friday's high, 32.43. Another double top at 32.46, 32.48, 32.50. Huge level in Mattel. After that, it looks open up to 33. And also the House of Mouse here. Did you see Moana or Moana? That's the new movie out by Disney. And, this thing, triple digits, running into a problem here at triple digits. Didn't have the great earnings report, but they said everything right on the conference call. Your roadblock here in Disney is going to be just below the $100 level. Two highs, 99.37, 99.50, and then also you can expect some sellers at the point.
Hasbro want to know caught a downgrade this morning from Piper to neutral. And Joel, you know what I think the gift of the season or the toy of the season will be? I think it'll be those new GoPro drones. The GoPro section, and this is purely anecdotal, but the GoPro section on Thursday night was packed. Right, people want their drones. So apparently, that's an actual thing that
What
people want
for?
to buy.
What do people want a drone for? I'm just asking. What?
What do people want? What do they want anything for? I don't know. They want it because it's fun.
Okay, GoPro drones are recalled, says the buy underscore Apple. So we'll have to see what's going on there. GoPro just hanging out here just near all time lows. All time low made a few days ago at 9.55, just hanging out at the $10 level. So not a lot of excitement here in GoPro. We'll
Yeah,
see. We'll see if it can respond today.
the recall was a few weeks ago. That was for the new Karma drone, but they're still going to re-release them. At least they said they were going to re-release them before the holiday season, which I guess is now. But yeah, the latest Karma drone, the latest model, was recalled. But they expect to, re-release that at some point in the next few weeks. That was back on November 9th. That was a few weeks ago. So it may already have been at this point. I don't really
You
know.
know what would happen
Uh,
if I bought a drone? You know what would happen? I would
yeah, you
crash
would.
it. I would crash it on like its first flight. There's no doubt, and ruin it.
Oh, you were gonna say you were gonna like cut your finger or something.
No, no, no. I just would get that thing up in the air and run it into a tree or a telephone pole or something.
Hey, and by Apple in the chat, I'm telling you, when I was there were drones in the stores. All right, I don't know what drones I was seeing, but there were drones in the stores. Exactly right. It's a new gimmick. People want the new gimmick. What about PayPal from Marvick there on the chat?
Let's take a look at PayPal, right? People, if they're shopping online, right, they have to pay for it, and PayPal seems to be real popular. Let's see, this stock had found some support, moving up. Looks like you're right. You got another whole number. Let's see if it's responding here into pre-market trading. Not much. Trading down a few cents. Boy, for all these for all these good stores, they're I guess it was kind of buy into it and sell afterwards, but trading down 16 cents at 40.10. $40 is a huge level here. Here are your last three lows, or actually last five lows, are right at the $40 level. So PayPal needs to hold 40. After that, looks pretty open to 39. On the upside, yesterday's high at 40.56.
Actually, I want to go back to Disney real quick because you mentioned the Moana, which is the new movie. Remember last year we had the Star Wars trade, right? There is a new Star Wars movie coming out now in about 2 weeks. Do you think there will be Is there another Star Wars trade to be made, Joel?
Another Star Wars movie? Oh,
Yeah, there's one. There's basically one a year now for the next like 6 years.
Oh
So
man, I tell you, I mean the last one you got the huge run up and the drop afterwards. Haven't heard as much hype about this one here. Maybe it will give you a kick, but I'm sure a lot of people are going to remember getting fooled last year on it. Let's go to a longer term chart and see what it did last December here. In anticipation. Actually, that thing had a really rough last few months. Didn't do much for it. Let's see if this next Star Wars movie can do anything more for the issue. Rouge One is the
uh,
name of it, coming out December 6th.
Rogue. Come
Rogue.
on, Joel. Come on, you're killing me here. You're killing me here. Oh man. Oh gosh. Okay. Um, what else we got? What about? Oh, you know what's up? Gold stocks. I did see that.
All right, let's take a look. First, let's take a look at the precious metal. Just hung out around 1200 just for way too long. And you know what happens when you hit a psychological support level like that and you can't hold it? Boom, we took it out. Trying to recover. I saw it up earlier here. Looking at the December gold here. Now you want to clear $1,200. As that acted as support for 4 or 5 sessions. Came crashing down through it on Tuesday. Made a low of the move at 1170.30. Now you need to get back over 1200. Psychological level, the pre-market high in gold way up there at 1197.20. Friday's low, like I said here, it's down at 1170.30. New low of the move for gold. So keep an eye on that. 1200, big level.
We didn't talk about crude at all today. How's crude doing?
Oh, the old usual. Whenever it goes down, you have another rumor of another OPEC deal here. Again, just goes on and on and on. You see it trading down here in the pre-market. Of course, OPEC comes out at an opportune time. You have nearly a $2 range in crude already. Currently trading up 50 cents. The pre-market high is 46.74. If you could clear 47, which psychological level, also as they're having a $1.60 range. Friday's interday high up at 47.45. If we go into reverse here, maybe keep an eye on the close at 46.06. That low at 45.14, and you've been looking at your 5-day low in crude, which 45.18. You had a low at 45.14. So big range in crude, but once again, it's just on rumor and innuendo.
Did we forget to cover Target? I don't remember.
We did not cover Target here. The CEO came out talking about how great sales were for the holiday season. Another gap and go in the retailer here. 78. Another weak close here. So it looks like some people were kind of selling into this news. Got up all the way on Friday here to 79.33, settled in the 78 handle here. So we'll see what happens at $79. Just remember the issue stalled badly in May at 80.51, but for right now, 79.33 Friday's high, looking okay.
And then someone in the chat, buy Apple, right? Was like the Fidel Castro trade. This is what I mentioned, Joel, on the pre-market show. Is the Hertzfeld, what is it called? The Hertzfeld Caribbean Basin Fund, ticker Cuba, is the only ticker that comes to mind when I think of Cuba. But that's up this morning on the news of the Fidel Castro's death. So that's what I was telling you about, Joel, and you didn't listen to me.
Holy mackerel, the Cuba trade here, trading up. Is this right here? I'm seeing a 765 last trade on it, but is that an odd lot? No, I'm not. 638 was a double top in it. I'm trying to find this trade. I even see an 839 trade here. I mean, how much does this thing, really change? I mean, Castro, I believe his brother's still in power. I don't see how this immediately turns around a trade situation. And did you see what your buddy Donald Trump tweeted when people were talking about Castro's death? Fidel Castro.
No.
Yeah.
No, and I didn't realize he was my buddy, but no, I didn't see it. I didn't see what he said.
Fidel Castro is dead! Exclamation point. That's what the next president of the United States tweeted upon the death of Fidel Castro.
Excellent. Well, that's all right. Well, all right. Moving on.
No politics. Remember, I'm sorry. I'm the one that brought that one up.
That was you. You know what? The European banks are looking a little weak this morning, Joel. We can go across the board there: UBS, Deutsche, Credit Suisse. But it looks like across the board we're seeing some pressure.
Right, let's go to the Deutsche Bank indicator, as Dennis likes to refer to it. Nice run up in Deutsche Bank when people were like me, thought they were going out of business, hit 11.19. You rallied up over 1650. This was back on November 14th, and now it's just been a slow leak. Important area to hold here. Friday's low, 1556. The low on Wednesday, 1559. So big area. Then looking on the daily chart, you just don't, when you see a stock go from 14 up over 16 and a half, basically in 4 or 5 days, then it comes down back to that area, not getting a big bounce. A lot of air here. Deutsche Bank down to that $14 low. I'm not necessarily going to get there today, but 14 even. That was your low on November 9th.
Credit Suisse as well. Speaking of Credit Suisse, do you want to know that the Credit Suisse Technology, Media, and Telecom Conference begins today? So if you're at all interested in telecom stocks, media stocks, technology stocks, watch out for headlines out of that, because that you can get some good info out of there. So just heads up for that this morning. But let's go look at CS.
Similar chart to your Deutsche Bank. Nice rally up. Started to challenge the $15 level here, and then you've had 1, 2, 3, 4, five, six, seven out of 8 down days here. Once again, the daily chart's looking the same, trading down in the pre-market. Big open area here. Boy, I'd hate to get caught on the long side below this 1350 area, 1356 and 55 were your lows from Wednesday and Friday. I can't see anything on the dailies until you get down to your November 9th low of 1283. And if you get anywhere near the close there, 1364, expect to see some sellers in Credit Suisse.
Let's take a look at Barclays. BCS, right?
BCS,
Did I get that?
yes, you
Okay.
did. Now, my niece, my youngest niece, Sabrina, is going to be working in the sales and trading department in Barclays. This is over coming up this summer. Got a gap up. Now, this one's holding up a little bit better for some reason. Tight range on Friday. Wow, only a nickel range on Friday. 63 to 68 in the 10 handle, 1066 close, trading a little bit. This one, if you're expecting it to follow the other European banks here, keep an eye on 1040. I see, boy, this thing's just been in a tight range for 5, 6 days here. So if this is following the lead of the other European banks, keep an eye under Barclays, under 1040. A lot of air in this thing into the mid $9 handle.
Let's get to some morning movers today. We got a couple of stocks. Well, there's always stocks moving up, moving down. What about our old friend Dry Ships, Joel? Dry Ships was up 3.8% in the pre-market after falling about 9% on Friday. How are we looking at DRYS?
Wow, DRYS. Let's take a look at Dry Ships here. The darling from that was a couple weeks ago. Dry Ships. Oh, I can type that in, right? Dry Ships. You always have to go to the intraday chart here because of the reverse splits. Man, the intraday chart's not really telling me much either. Let me go to my other platform. I mean, it's just right back where it started from. Couple lows here in the mid $5 handle. Keep an eye on a 533 and 546. Volume starting to taper off just a little bit. Maybe sellers are finally done puking this thing out from that crazy ride over $100.
Time Inc. shares up about 5% this morning. They rejected an $18 per share bid from Edgar Bronfrom Jr. This is according to the New York Post. So TIME
Is
looking
Time
good.
still around?
Yeah. Time Inc. is the old media traditional publishing arm. So that's Time Magazine, People Magazine, Sports Illustrated. Uh, a handful of others that are
What kind of deal did they turn down?
$18 per share.
Really? Okay. Was trading at 1380. A lot of skepticism over this one, Spencer, because the biggest spike that you got here in the pre-market trading, I see very little trading. 1540 backed off to 1515. So a lot of skepticism of whether or not this deal is going to come to fruition.
All right, just about 8:30. We're not going to get any balances today because no Dennis. But speaking of conferences, do you want to also alert our traders that the J.P. Morgan Robinhood Investors Conference is also starts today? It's a 2-day affair, so check that out. Anytime you can potentially get some news out of a conference, we like to keep an eye on conferences on the news desk. We can get some headlines out of there, or if you get people dropping out of a conference, it can be noteworthy tangible to the stock. So we always like to keep an eye on what's going on in conference land. Looking at the mover list again, and I don't see a whole lot of interesting stocks today. I see Ocular Therapeutics doesn't really interest me a whole lot, so nothing too notable on the movers front.
All right, let's just do a quick rundown at the top of the show. Off my game a little bit here, giving a quick rundown of the S&P 500 index futures. Strong close on Friday. Sellers were out doing their black shopping with Spencer. You made an all-time high at 2211.75. Boy, we better get back in the 21 handle because it's going to take me a while to get adjusted to 2200. You also had your all-time high close here at 11 and a quarter. We backed off that. Obviously, above that, you have nothing coming back on the downside. We have taken out Friday's low. The pre-market low is 2199.50. That's just under Thursday's close. So 2200, believe it or not, for now is psychological support. And we'll see if we get back over 2110, the all-time high close at 2111 and a quarter. We did the crude rundown as well as the gold.
Question from the chat, Joel. How come dry ships is not shortable at the moment? You want to explain that?
I saw that question and I'm like, boy, I wish Dennis was around to answer that one. And I just think that, the brokerage firms, even if they do have access to it, they probably got so many people smoked on that run up that they're probably blew up so many accounts they might be a little bit hesitant to loan it out, especially after it had that kind of run. If not, it was hard to borrow before. With all those reverse splits, it just has a low float. So I think that's the combination of the two.
Answering some volume questions there in the chat. Hope we can.
I turned mine up once. You want me to turn it up again? You don't want me?
I hear you're fine. 8:31 now. We're gonna have a couple of minutes until Michael Pachter. If you're a video game stock fan or you watch and show the Pachter Factor, he's an equity analyst at Wedbush Securities. Covers Twitter, GameStop. He'll be a good guy to talk about actually post Black Friday because Activision Blizzard, obviously Zynga, GameStop, Electronic Arts, Amazon, these are all stocks he covered that all, were impacted, or we'll see if they're impacted on Black Friday. Also, he covers AMC Entertainment, Facebook, Cinemark Holdings. So we got a good list of stocks. If you have any questions related to anything in that industry, Pachter is pretty much your guy. So it's coming up at 8:35. Joel, should we look at a rating or two before we get to Pachter? Let me look. We did have.
Why don't we?
I think.
You want to cover some of these video game stocks here real quick before he comes on? Just take.
All right. So why don't you give us some levels on ATVI?
ATVI. I mean, this thing just keeps going and going and going. What's the big game on there? I can't. Is it some like war game or something?
There's always more. There's always big games on there.
Wow,
There is no one big game. There's a billion big games.
Actually, this thing hit 44.55. I take that back here, and it's been in a decline. Let's see how it's trading in the pre-market. ATVI trying to form some support here at the $36 level. Bad day on Wednesday. You got down to 36.32. Nice recovery though on Friday, 37.54 and 37.48. Was I turning my volume the wrong way here, guys?
I think maybe you were.
Okay.
Yeah.
How's that? Is that any better?
Yeah. You're good now.
Okay. Sorry, turning it the wrong way. Boy, I like this thing. Let's see if it can hold 37.5, 37.54. That was your high on Wednesday, 37.58. That was your last two highs. We are trading above that, trying to trade above it in the pre-market, so we'll keep an eye on that. But, Spencer, before we go on with these, why don't we take a quick break and bring in Mr. Pachter.
All right, we'll be right back.
Whether you're a short-term swing trader or a long-term investor, you need to check out Thinkorswim, brought to you by TD Ameritrade. There's a reason why Thinkorswim has been named the #1 trading platform, because it has it all. With Thinkorswim, you can trade stocks, options, futures, forex, and virtually every other type of order. Get notifications on mobile devices and interact with other traders in chat rooms. You can also use technical indicators and see the latest investing and trading education in Think Money magazine. If you want to keep up with the markets, you need Thinkorswim. To experience everything Thinkorswim has to offer, open a TD Ameritrade account today. Thinkorswim, the online trading platform for traders and investors. TD Ameritrade, member SIPC. All investing involves risks.
Welcome back, traders and investors, to Benzinga's Pre-Market Prep, brought to you by Benzinga Pro. I'm your co-host, Joel Elconin, along with Spencer Israel, and we have Michael Pachter on the line. He's an equity analyst for Wedbush Securities. How you doing today, Mr. Pachter?
I'm well, Joel. Thanks for asking.
And a nice Thanksgiving. Did you get out there and do a lot of shopping, or how was your Thanksgiving?
I actually spent it in Mexico. I came back over the weekend to do some channel checks, but we had Mexican turkey, and it was just as good as U.S. turkey.
Oh, okay. And first, I want to ask you about the Pachter Factor. You've been doing that for quite some time here. Tell us about the podcast, what listeners can expect from that, and how's it going?
You know, it's a game-focused podcast, and although I'm a financial analyst, a lot of gamers have kind of intelligent questions about, why things happen in the gaming industry. So what goes into development budgets and marketing and why some games sell better than others. So I talk about 15 or 20 minutes a week and answer my viewers' questions. I get tons of them. And I tape about 10 times a year, typically do a couple hours at a time, and we break it up into weekly 20-minute segments.
And how is that broadcast?
It's available on a website called sifted.net as a subscription, and a week later on YouTube for free. So if you type in my name, Michael Pachter, or Pachter Factor on YouTube, you'll find week-old podcasts, and they go back, 5 or 6 years.
All right. I know we have some gamers in the chat here. Looking forward to this interview. Before we go on to individual issues here, I've had you on a few times before, but I never to discuss the demographics of gamers here. And I'm kind of an old guy, still like the pinball and the Pac-Man and things like that. I mean, is it like these young kids, 10, 12 years old or even younger, up to a really heavy male demographic, maybe in your late 30s, or does it expand beyond those boundaries? And what percentage of gamers are women?
There's three ways to play games. You can buy a dedicated console, and that demographic is, between 6 or 7 years old and typically around 40. You can play on a PC, and that could be desktop or desktop free-to-play or hardcore games, or play on a laptop. So that's a much broader demographic, and some of the free-to-play stuff would include games like League of Legends and and World of Tanks, and clearly includes free-to-play games like Facebook games. And then there's mobile, which is available to anybody who's got a cell phone that's connected to the internet. That's 1.5 billion people. The mobile audience is more than half women. The desktop audience is probably 65-70% male, and the console audience is probably 75% male. But those numbers for women are up by 10 percentage points or more in the last 10 years. Back 20 years ago, it was literally 90% male and 10% female. And now it's just socially acceptable. I think we're training lots of generations of people on mobile, especially on tablet. You can hand a 3 or 4-year-old a tablet, and it will be like a babysitter and keep them busy for hours and hours and hours. And there's tons of content that are geared, toward young kids, and that's completely sex agnostic. So male or female, 3-year-olds are pretty much the same and have the same taste. And since their moms play Candy Crush, I think their moms are accepting of their kids continuing to play games and graduating to dedicated consoles, certainly graduating to free-to-play on desktop or laptop.
And I guess attrition, if you're cultivating them that young, there's really, you can keep them. They get addicted at that age. They just, get to the top of the cycle and just, move on to other things. Or once these young kids get hooked, they're pretty much hooked for life.
I think once anybody's hooked, whether they're an adult or a kid, they just consider this part of their entertainment package. So, I think that's like saying, do we outgrow television? And we don't. Do we outgrow going to the movies? I mean, you might for a brief period of time when you're starting a family and you've got, babies and babysitting to deal with. But, people come back to movie theaters when they're in their, 50s and empty nesters. And people never abandon television or music, so why would they abandon games? I actually think once someone plays games, they're a gamer for life. The question really is, does someone spend money on games? And that's a small subset. There's 250 million consoles out there. There's 2.5 billion people with PC access and 1.5 billion with phone access. So the console market with dedicated, game sales is a much smaller set of the overall gaming population. But how many people with a PC have not played solitaire? I mean, everybody's tried it. So how many people with a phone have not played a cell phone game, a mobile game? Probably 10% at most. I mean, most people try them. I read recently that former Supreme Court Justice Sandra Day O'Connor has created a mobile game, and Donald Rumsfeld, former Secretary of Defense, has created a mobile game. So you've got older people, these people are both in their 70s or 80s, that are reaching out with games. That's quite a phenomenon. That tells you that the demographic is 6 to 80.
All right, so let's move on here. Talk about some individual issues here, and I had not looked at Activision Blizzard at quite some time here, and the stock just always went up to me, but I see it hit 45.55, and now we've had a really healthy pullback to the $36 area, probably a retracement of some of the move. Give us, I still see you have a buy rating on it and a target. I'm sure a lot of people would like to see in this issue. Talk to us about ATVI.
It's actually my favorite on my list for 2017. It's not my favorite for the balance of 16. The problem, I think, with Activision is it's one of the biggest movers on the S&P 500 this year, or at least was when it was at 45. And, the stock was at 28 earlier in the year, so it ran from 28 to 45, and you're right, it gave back quite a bit of that. There's a lot of investors, there's a big chunk of new money in Activision. And when I say new money, they're institutions, but they tend to be generalists who are benchmarked against, some index that includes Activision, like the S&P 500. And so they were buying it to kind of follow it up because it was hurting their performance. And as soon as they saw a sign of anything weak, they were the first to abandon the stock. We've had a really, really crowded holiday game release schedule. There are 7 or so big games that came out between the beginning of October and mid-November, and Call of Duty, unfortunately, came in toward the back end of that. That's Activision's biggest game. It's responsible for about 20% of their overall revenue. And we're getting reports out of the UK that, sales of Call of Duty are down 40-50% in its opening weekend and through its first week, which makes sense. I mean, last year it came out with very little competition in front of it. This year there were 2 giant, very competitive games, Titanfall 2 and Battlefield 1, that came out in the week prior and 2 weeks prior, that are both first-person shooter games and compete directly. So that makes sense. It also makes sense that there are some people in the UK are probably worried about losing their jobs or about the economy with the impending Brexit. So I think that investors put way too much credence in early UK physical sales data. Nobody has digital sales data unless you work in the digital store at Microsoft or Sony. So nobody has any clue what the percentage of game downloads is. And I think that new investors are just reading the headlines. So I think Activision stays weak through year end. We're going to get November physical sales for the U.S. Data on December 8th. I think it's going to be bad for Activision. But truthfully, I think the Call of Duty game, you get a remastered version of the most popular Call of Duty ever, called Modern Warfare. So you get about $140 value for $100, digital only. So I'm pretty sure that digital bundle captured a disproportionately large number of dollars, and I think that's skewing the physical results. Frankly, I think Activision's fine. You're just not going to get any relief until they report at the end of January or early February. I don't expect the stock to go up much between now and then. Then I think it's off to the races. I have a $54 target, and to be honest, I could see this thing at $60 this time next year. So I like it a lot. They have big opportunities next year. They're going to advertise to Candy Crush players. They bought King Digital Games earlier in the year. So a big upside next year.
All right, let's talk. Spencer, do you have something there?
Yeah. I had a quick question, Michael, about another Activision game, a game that I played for the first time this weekend that my friends seem to love, and that's Overwatch. Have you heard anything about that and how that's playing out?
Activision stopped giving unit numbers, and they're trying to be like Facebook and talk about MAUs. So they've been putting out MAU numbers, and Overwatch apparently is up to 15 or 20 million users. We just don't know how many of those people play in internet cafes in Korea and how many bought the game. It's clearly a huge success, and that presents a problem for comparison for next year. It's probably generated in that 650 to 700 million in revenue range, which would make it, the second or third most popular title in Activision's lineup. World of Warcraft is right in there at that 600, 700 million level. So pretty big, and this is a company that does $6.5 billion in revenue. So a 600 million contribution from a single game, a new IP, is a big deal. They're forming a professional esports league around Overwatch. There will be tons of opportunities for new players to spend money next year. So it's a real franchise. It's going to be around for the next 10 years. And I think that it kind of was responsible for Activision running up to an all-time high above 45 earlier this year.
Don33 in the chat wants to know about Zynga.
Oh, Zynga's a tough one. They're in their, fifth year of turnaround, something like that. Their fifth year of a 1 or 2 year turnaround. Mark Pincus, who's the founder and was the CEO, stepped down, replaced by Don Matrick, who was there for a couple of years and stepped down, replaced after about 11 or 12 months of that position being empty by Frank Gibeau, who has been there just since March. And I think Frank's doing the right thing. I actually think Don was doing the right thing. They're paring away all the games that weren't really making much money. So the revenues have been stalled for 3 years in a row, but they finally have a lineup coming. We're going to get a game called Dawn of Titans. It's going to launch sometime in December. They have promised it's coming at holiday, and the holiday started last weekend. So I expect in the next couple of weeks. That should drive some growth next year. They have 3 or 4 other games. Again, they haven't quantified, but we know how many teams they have working on games coming next year. I think you get a couple $100 million of revenue growth next year. And if you get a couple $100 million of revenue growth with improving margins, I think you get pretty dramatic EBITDA growth. I mean, it's probably coming in around $50 million this year or so. I could see them adding $100 million of EBITDA, so you could triple EBITDA next year, and that should make the stock go up. So this is a bunch of ifs. They've got to get games out, and they have to work. I think Frank's the right guy. I think it's a good gamble. It's a good risk here. I've got a $4.25 price target for a stock that's under $3. I think investors can step in now and ride it up by 35% in the next couple of months. So I like it a lot, but they might not deliver. The game, Dawn of Titans might not work, and if it doesn't, then I'm wrong. So high reward and some risk, but it's worth a shot, I think.
And one issue we've discussed with you before that's been on a tear as of late, GameStop traded in a 20 handle, got over $26 here. What's the outlook for GameStop, with the online downloads? What's your outlook on GameStop?
I think that they're doing fine. They're a bit in denial about full game downloads, and I think that they're kind of, one of their benefits is also hurting them, which is that they're the destination for hardcore gamers, and they're the only place that really does a meaningful business in used game trade-ins. You can't trade in a digital copy. So if you trade in games at GameStop, you've got to buy physical. And we had thought that would insulate them from full game downloads. We thought their customer would be the last man standing. But their customer is exactly the same hardcore gamer that's attracted to things like that Call of Duty bundle for $100 that's digital only, and you get so much value out of that bundle that I think a lot of their customers are foregoing, the opportunity to buy physical and trade in later for the real high value digital bundle. And so that hurt them. They just reported earnings. They're fine, but they're down year over year. I think with share repurchases and with growth in their other businesses, their non-video game business, which is running AT&T mobile stores, 1,500 of them, and collectibles. They sell a bunch of knickknacks that you can put on your desk. They're going to see earnings growth to the $4 range next year. I have a higher estimate than that, and they trade at barely a 6 multiple. So, the question is, are they going out of business, in which case a 6 multiple is warranted, or are they going to be able to manage to keep their earnings flat or slightly growing, in which case they should be trading at an 8+ multiple? And so I think the latter. I think $4 is kind of a sustainable earnings level because our other businesses are growing nicely. And I think the stock's worth 30 when it got down to 20. That was a bit overdone, and some value investors have stepped in.
Michael, can we stick a few more issues in here? I know you've been on for a few minutes.
Of course.
Do you have time for a couple
That's
more?
fine.
Okay.
Yep.
Yeah, one stock that really's had my number for quite some time here, Twitter. Just can't seem to figure things out. Current hold rating and a $14 price target here. Could Twitter right the ship?
I don't think so with the current management. If not for all of the takeover speculation, which was partly fueled by WikiLeaks showing, Colin Powell is a board member at Salesforce.com, and it kind of confirmed that they were looking at Twitter. We've had speculation, which I don't know where it came from, that Disney's looking at them. If not for that chatter, I think the stock could be trading at my price target or below. The management team's not executing. The best of the bunch there was Adam Bain, who just left, and I think that's a problem. I think Anthony Noto is a capable financial guy, but he's going to be running the business now. He's the chief operating officer. You got a half a CEO in Jack Dorsey. He's spending half of his time at Square and half at Twitter. And as a founder, I'm not sure he's got a handle on how to fix his baby. He's one of the guys who created it, so their changes have been painfully slow. And the one change that they're just not addressing is how to attract new users. They're great at making the site better for existing users. They're not good at explaining to your mom why she should be on Twitter, and she doesn't understand why she should be on Twitter. Facebook was masterful at that, and Twitter has just ignored new users. So I think until they get user growth, the stock is going to stall at that 14 level once all the takeover chatter subsides. And I don't see how they get their share price above 14 without attracting new users, and I don't see management doing anything to attract new users.
All right, let's finish up with two FANG stocks here. One, you just mentioned Facebook. Hit that all-time high right before the earnings, a big dip to the 115 level. Negative news keeps coming out on this thing about some metrics, but they keep battling back. Give us your outlook on Facebook.
It's a quality company, and I think the metrics problem is not as big a problem as it kind of was reported. Clearly, advertisers understand what the benefits of advertising on Facebook are, and I don't think that the measurement of whether somebody dwelled on an ad or passed by it makes any difference. That the advertiser is not charged until people watch several seconds of a video ad. So, advertisers know who watched several seconds, and the reporting of how many people saw it really doesn't matter. I think that the stock really didn't work after earnings because the company talked about slowing the growth of ad load. Now, they didn't say ad load would go down. They were talking Facebook only. And they said slowing the growth of ad load. That doesn't mean that ad revenues are going to decline. That means that ad load is going to go up much more slowly, but ad rates can go up if they target better, and frequency of visits can go up if they continue to get people to go to Facebook, and they're exceptional at that. So I think people didn't get that, and people are overlooking that Instagram and WhatsApp and Messenger are potential big revenue streams, in particular Instagram. So I think the company is executing really, really well. I think that you don't have a double in there. You probably have 25% upside from here, but that's a lot. And again, I think this company is going to continue to execute. I think they know what they have to do, and they're doing it. I think they actually have a path, and they're driving engagement. They're adding users at Instagram, WhatsApp, and Messenger. So I think they're growing. They're growing properly. They're cross-selling their services. I think they're just a very, very good company.
All right, before we let you go here, Amazon, I can attest to the fact you've been on this stock for quite some time. $900 target, battling back after earnings here. Wrap up with Amazon.
Again, it's kind of hard to keep quality down. I think the holiday quarter is going to be challenging for them, not from a revenue perspective. I think they're absolutely dominating and doing super well on revenue. But I think that on an earnings perspective, they're marketing a lot. You're seeing a ton of television advertising. They're trying to drive Prime membership. They're trying to sell Echo devices, and I doubt they're making much, if any, money on those types of devices. And you're going to see price competition. We saw it over Black Friday weekend. I think you're going to see it persist through December 26th. So my bias is that they're going to beat on the revenue line, but they're going to be challenged on the earnings line if they give away too much margin through competition, or if they give away too much profit by higher promotional spending. With that said, I still think these guys grow, retail revenues by 15 to 20% next year and the year after and the year after, and Amazon Web Services continues to chug along. So I think you're going to see my $900 target within 12 months.
All right, Michael Pachter, equity analyst for Wedbush Securities. Also, if you guys are enjoying this kind of content, you can check out the Pachter Factor. Google that. Also, Michael Pachter on Twitter, at Michael Pachter. Great information. I kept you a long time. I really appreciate it. We'll talk to you again soon. S&P futures here, down 575, 2205.50. Spencer, any issues we need to cover before we wrap up the show and preview tomorrow's show?
Well, we didn't get to any ratings. Let me just run through a couple ones real fast. Jefferies on the banks, they downgraded Citi to a hold, upgrade U.S. Bancorp to a buy, downgrade Wells Fargo to a hold, upgrade Comerica to a buy. Let me see. That was pretty much it for Jefferies on the banks. A couple other ones to note. We had should I go? There we go. Okay, so Yum is a new underperform at CLSA. BTIG is downgraded HRB, and Wedbush is downgrading PNRA. COP, ConocoPhillips upgraded at Goldman Sachs to a conviction buy from neutral as well. So we can look at any of those stocks, but those are, what I'm seeing, those are the biggest ratings changes of the morning.
All right, let's just look at the COP, because Goldman Sachs will do that for Dennis, who's not here today. Very influential on the street. Pre-market high here comes in at 46.40. Now, if you go to your daily charts here, you can see the recent high of the move has been 46.69. But it's been flanked by a couple highs at 46.50. So continued upside here off the Goldman upgrade. Keep an eye on that for continued upside. All right, Spencer, 858 here. Let's wrap up today's show and preview Tuesday's show.
And is he independent trader, mostly focusing on the biotech sector. So looking forward to talking to just a regular trader, just like all of the listeners in our chat. So Kyle Dennis and Nick Shaheen tomorrow at 8:15 and 8:35 respectively. If you missed any part of today's show, you can catch the whole thing again on our podcast or on iTunes, SoundCloud, Stitcher, and then YouTube. Just search for Benzinga or PreMarket. And last thing, please always remember that all the information, material, and content from our show is for informational purposes only and not meant to be investing advice. So that's it for us today. Hope everyone had a nice long weekend and their week is off to a good start. And we'll be back with you folks tomorrow morning with Dennis and me and everyone in office. Have a good day, everyone.
Final shout out to our MBA students at Notre Dame.
Whether you're a short-term swing trader or a long-term investor, you need to check out Thinkorswim, brought to you by TD Ameritrade. There's a reason why Thinkorswim has been named the #1 trading platform, because it has it all. With Thinkorswim, you can trade stocks, options, futures, forex, and virtually every other type of order. Get notifications on mobile devices and interact with other traders in chat rooms. You can also use technical indicators and see the latest investing and trading education in Think Money magazine. If you want to keep up with the markets, you need Thinkorswim. To experience everything Thinkorswim has to offer, open a TD Ameritrade account today. Thinkorswim, the online trading platform for traders and investors. TD Ameritrade, member SIPC. All investing involves risks.